Hi, you're watching Stella's Meza. On today's episode, I will show you how to make a samosa. Now, what a samosa is a triangular pastry. It's savory. It's filled with ground beef, or you can fill it with vegetables. And I will break this video in two parts. I will show you how to make the dough, which is a pastry, and then I will show you how to make the filling. Now, this is a very popular dish in East Africa, eaten in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Somalia, and just basically the countries surrounding East Africa. And you can eat it at barbecues, you can eat it at cocktail parties, or you can eat it as a side dish. So I will break this down for you in two parts because I needed to see step by step how to do it. It's not complicated and it's something that you will enjoy. It is delicious. Now for this you will need 2 cups sifted all-purpose flour, and then for taste, I put 1 teaspoon garlic powder, and then not garlic salt but garlic powder to give it a little bit of oomph, and then I put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in there. And then to knead it, you will need 3/4 cups of water, room temperature water, and then 2 tablespoons of canola oil or any kind of vegetable oil that has no flavoring. I don't use olive oil because I find that the flavor is too strong for this, okay? So you just go ahead and knead it with your hands for 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and you want the dough to be supple, but you don't want it to be sticky on your hands. So the point at which you see that the dough is nice and soft, but it's not sticking in your hand, and you know your dough is done. If you find for whatever reason that the dough is still sticky even after you've added the 2 cups of flour and 3/4 cups water and the other ingredients, just go ahead and add a tablespoon of flour at a time. Just sprinkle a little and keep kneading until you get that desired texture, which is not sticky but soft. And then after you've kneaded the dough, you're going to let it rest for 1 hour, 15 minutes to 1 hour. I let mine rest for 1 hour so it's nice and relaxed. That's chilling, baby. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just for the sake of time, I'm going to use this dough that I earlier prepared, and I just wanted you to see what goes in here. So I'm going to put this aside. Okay, and then what I do, just so that the dough does not stick to the container, you want to cover up the container when you let it rest. Cover it with cling foil, or if your mixing bowl has a lid on it, put it on, just let it rest on the counter at room temperature. Now, what I do to make the dough not sticky on the mixing bowl is I put a little bit of oil on my hands and then around the base of the bowl and apply it on there. So when you're ready to use it, you kind of just pry it away from the bowl and it lifts off very easily. And then you end up with this. Look at how nice and beautiful it is. See how soft? Now that's some chilling dough. It's relaxed. It's like getting a massage and you're all nice and relaxed. Well, I guess that's how this dough is feeling. Okay? I'm going to put that aside. And then what you do is you make this into a ball, and we're gonna you can use a knife or you can use a dough cutter to separate it into 6 pieces, 6 equal pieces. Try and do 6 equal pieces. Now you will need a bowl with some dough on it, all-purpose flour, and it just so you can sprinkle on your work surface, your clean work surface, and make sure your hands are clean. And then to make the paste, you're going to use a 1/4 cup all-purpose flour and a 1/4 cup water, which I'll mix later. And then you'll also need a little bit of oil on the side to sprinkle on the sheets, and I will show you what I mean as we go along. You'll also need a pastry brush, or you could use your hand. I use my hand. You'll need a rolling pin. You'll need a clean cloth to cover up your sheets of pastry once you've made them and cut them up. And you also need a surface to put your cut up pastries. And now I use a baking sheet that's covered in silpat, or you can use baking paper to put on there. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide this into 2 at first. Cut right through it. It's very soft. All right, and then I'm going to further divide this into 3 equal pieces, or try as much as possible to make them equal. Okay, that's 1. That's a 2nd. That's a 3rd. I'm going to do the same for this. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So I'm going to roll this into little balls. See what I'm doing? Just in the palm of my hands, I'm making little balls. And I'm going to set them on this baking sheet. Put that aside. I know people ask me, how come you don't use a stand mixer or hand mixer to do this? I just find that this is more enjoyable for me. I get to get personal with my food, and that's okay. It's like being a kid all over again, playing with Play-Doh. So that's fine. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that clean piece of cloth to kind of lightly cover them so they don't dry out. And I'm going to work on this one. So spread that flour on that board, rolling board, and then kind of flatten it. All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to roll this out, this disc out, into around approximately 8 inches wide in diameter, a circle, okay, and 1/8 of an inch thickness. You want it kind of thin and 8 inches round. And then we're going to do this for all the rest of these, and then we're going to layer them and roll them out again into a bigger circle. So you want to lightly, that's your rolling pin with flour. I'm going to need to move some of these things, y'all, so I can make some room to work. Okay, I don't want to knock stuff over. Okay. So I'll use this later. Oops, accident. We'll clean up that later. Okay. Now you want to roll it from the middle. This is how I roll, from the middle out, middle out, middle out, and then you rotate it, okay? It doesn't have to be a perfect circle at this point, so if it turns out something that's not quite a circle, just stay calm and carry on. Don't panic. I'm going to keep going. Try and get it as round as you can. We're aiming for 8 inches wide, remember that, or something close to that. Okay, let me see, right around that width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pastry brush to apply a little bit of oil on the surface of this. You see how thin that is? You're looking for that, something that thickness, okay? That's 1/8 of an inch approximately, and then I'm going to roll. Don't put too much on. And the reason why, you can use this or you can use the back of a spoon. You just drizzle like approximately half a teaspoon of cooking oil, and then use the back of the spoon to spread it around on the surface. And then you're going to sprinkle a little bit of all-purpose flour on the surface, okay? And then just kind of pat it around a little bit. Just make sure it's not too oily, okay? So what we're going to do, I'm going to try and put this aside, if it'll come off. You can use your rolling pin to lift it off. I'm going to put this to the side. Let's do this. That's a clean surface, y'all, so don't panic, okay? I'm going to do the same to this, and then what I do, as soon as I do the same to this that I've done to this, I'm going to layer it on top of this, okay? So I'm going to keep doing that, and we'll come back. I'll show you what we do after we made all the layers. So it's a 8-inch round of dough, and then some oil, a sprinkle of all-purpose flour, do the same thing, and then oil, but just layer it like that way until you have all pieces done that way. And then you come back and I'll show you how to roll it out into a bigger piece, and then we'll go from there, okay? So be right back. Welcome back. Now, right before the break, you left me layering the balls of dough. I rolled them out into a disc, 1/8 of an inch in thickness, and then I went ahead and applied some cooking oil, sprinkled with a little bit of flour, and I kept repeating that process till all 6 of them are now layered. Now what you want to do once you finish layering them is sprinkle a little bit of flour on the top part of the dough, and then pinch around the edges just to kind of lock them in, because you're going to need to roll this out further, so it's about 12 inches in diameter. Okay, so here what I have is I floured my rolling pin, and then I'm going to kind of further roll it out. Use your rolling pin to assist you turn it, or you can just use your hand. Try and get it into a circle if you can. And the reason we're doing this is because this, we're going to further cut this up into, we're going to quarter this up. We're going to put on the heat to kind of make it dry so that the layers separate, and then we're going to quarter it up, and then we're going to have 24 smaller pieces. That's what we're going to use to create the triangles that we're going to use to cook the samosas. Now over here I have, it's the same pan I used to cook a chapati, like the flat pan, and I have it on medium heat. I've had it on medium heat, so it's nice and warm. So I'm going to transfer my piece of dough on here, okay? Use your rolling pin to me. It's kind of heavy, so gently place it on there. And kind of use your hand to spread it around. See what I've done there? Okay, It kind of looks a little bigger than the pan, but you're just going to make it work. Sometimes in the kitchen things don't go the way you plan, but don't panic. There's always a solution. Okay, so we're going to heat it up like this, and then when we start seeing this part that's underneath that's starting to turn color, a little bit of light brown or transparency on the top, it's time to flip them over. See, and if you touch them, you can feel there's air in there. If you push down gently, you can feel the air. So we're going to leave it like that. And you're going to also need a strainer when you fry them, and you're also going to need a spatula. This is going to help you at this process to flip this over. Now, if you move over here, I will show you that 1/4 cup flour and 1/4 cup water. I went ahead and mixed them. I use a whisk, and you want it to be this consistency because it's going to be the glue that holds together your samosa. That way it doesn't come apart when you're frying it, okay? And that's all you need. Just stir it a little bit. It's time to get warm on the top. And I'm going to check at the bottom in a little bit to see what it looks like. And if it's trying to flip, it's time to flip. You can see that? Feel if you see that air? So we're working on that. I'm going to move this and make sure I get the edges as well. If you don't have this kind of pan, it's called a towel pan. You can use any kind of wide frying pan. Kind of flat form pan would work great for this. Now let's check and see what's happening back here. Okay, be very careful. I don't want to burn this out. See that? I'm going to flip it over. If you come closer, you see the little spots, and it's kind of looking transparent. So we turned it right at the right time. Make sure you get those edges. That's rather hot. Okay, instead of watching this turn brown, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Trying to save on time, people, and I'll see you in a little bit, okay? Welcome back. Right before the break, I put my pieces of dough or pastry on the flat pan, and I went ahead and let them cook on there for 3 minutes each side. I'm sorry, 3 minutes total, so 1.5 minutes each side, and I went ahead and separated them. Now this is what they should look like. You see that? Transparent, okay? And kind of al dente. Some parts will be a little bit soft, but for most part, if you touch on it, it'll make that noise. And then you know it's good to go. You can see my hand through that, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quarter this. I'm going to use a knife and cut it into 4 pieces. And each quarter is going to be a samosa. So this is 6 sheets, and then there's going to be 4 quarters. That's going to make for 24 samosas. So this the serving size for this recipe is 24. So I'm just going to find the halfway point and cut it right to the center. Let's see. Be very careful because they're delicate. And then I'm going to flip it over and keep them on the same. And then I'm going to cut right in the center again. So each quarter is a samosa. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ones that I'm not working on here in the center. And then I'm going to keep them covered. That way they don't dry out. Alright? And then I'm going to make the forms into which the ground beef will go to complete the samosa. So what you want to do, over here I have the 1/4 cup all-purpose flour and a 1/4 cup water that I mix, and you want it to that consistency. Okay? It's kind of like goo. See that? That's what's going to hold the thing together. So you use the part that's carved, that's the part that you put facing towards you. The pointy stuff, the pointy part, that faces away from you. So you're going to pull this up here. Okay, and then I'm going to take this. You don't have to use your finger. There's no way around it. And kind of put it on the edge. Alright. And then you're going to fold this over. Not all the way to the edge, but kind of in the center. Okay? And apply that in there. And you want to make sure you don't leave spaces or your samosa will come apart as you fry it. Okay? Put your finger in there. That way you create that cavity into which the beef's going to go. Okay? And then what we're going to do is you're going to take like 2 teaspoonfuls. You don't want to stuff it too much because it's going to, as you cook it, as you fry it in the oil, it's going to plump up and it's going to open up on you. You don't want to do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to put in like 2 teaspoonfuls or 1.5 teaspoons of your filling. It can be chicken, ground beef, and there's a recipe part 2 for this. You can alternate using chicken, or you can use vegetables, cauliflower, potatoes that be mashed, and then we're going to dip that in there with using a spoon, and then we're going to push it kind of down, and it's like an envelope. You're going to push that down into the filling, and then you're going to take the cover. You're gonna put the dough, the paste over it, and then you're gonna do that. Now, when I finish, it's gonna look plump. I have my filling still cooling down, so I'm not gonna finish this. But when we come back, I will show you exactly what I'm doing, how to do this. So it's gonna look something like this, and then fried and nice and crispy with good taste inside. Okay, so be sure to come back for part 2. I'll show you how to finish the process. Over here I have oil, like 3 to 4 cups of oil that's heating on medium high, and then I'll show you how to test your oil and see for doneness if you're ready to fry these, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so be sure to join me on part 2 of this as I take your taste buds on another culinary safari. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, 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 yeah.